I really like Tybalt Capulet. Sorry, that was probably a lot. Let me restart. My name is Miles, and this is my first, actual YouTube video. Yippee! Welcome. And also I really like Tybalt Capulet. So it makes sense that my first YouTube video would naturally be a video essay about Tybalt Capulet. If you don't know, I mean you probably know if you're here, but if you don't know, Tybalt Capulet is, from Shakespeare's play, Romeo and Juliet. He is Juliet's cousin, and he is everything to me. He is, sorry. A lot of times when I see Tybalt being talked about in media or by my professors or something, my old teachers, he would often be demonized or considered a villain or the villain of the story. The reason why everything went wrong. And I very much disagree. And I have had to explain it so many times, so at this point, I'm just gonna make a video essay. I've wanted to make this video for a long time, just explaining why I admire Tybalt as a character so much. But yeah, so this video is gonna be talking about him and analyzing his character and all that. I've never made a YouTube video before, so I'm kind of bullshitting this whole intro. Sorry if it was messy. But let's just start now. Start now. The video is going to be split up into 3 different parts just to make it a little bit easier. The first part is going to be me explaining Romeo and Juliet, just giving a quick summary of Romeo and Juliet. I'm sure most of us, if not all of us, have read it or at least know what it's about, but you know, it's still good to refresh your memory. The second part of the video is going to be me analyzing Tybalt as a character, his actions, his motivations, why he did the things that he did, and why I think that those were perfectly reasonable things to do in that situation. Maybe not perfectly reasonable, but understandable. And then finally, the third part of this video, I'm just gonna let my autism go crazy. The third part of the video is just gonna be me talking about why I relate to Tybalt so much, why he means so much to me, and how my autism directly relates to me relating to him. Yeah, why I connect to him so much because of my autism. Yippee! Let's go! Romeo and Juliet, written by William Shakespeare, takes place in the city of Verona, where 2 families fucking hate each other. They are fighting all the time, they're feuding, no one knows why, it's generational, no one knows how it started, but everyone fucking hates each other. The play shows a couple different people from the 2 households fighting, getting into an argument and starting a fight, and then Benvolio, the cousin of Romeo, comes in and he's like, hey guys, let's not do this. And then Tybalt he comes in and he's like, why the fuck are you talking about being peaceful when you literally have your sword out? That's a little bit hypocritical. Also, I fucking hate you and your family. So they fight. It eventually devolves into both of the whole families just fucking fighting, destroying the whole town, little area. They're causing chaos. It's a mess. It's a disaster. And it finally ends with the prince coming in and being like, fucking stop, or else. Yeah, he's basically like, if you guys fight again, this keeps happening, if you guys fight again, I'll fucking kill you. Then we meet Romeo, the young protagonist of the story. He is sulking, being a little baby. And his cousin Benvolio comes up to him and he's like, dude, what's up? What's happening? And Romeo's like, the girl I like doesn't like me back. She became a nun, so now I can't get with her. And she's like, ah. And Benvolio goes, wow, damn, that's crazy. So him and Mercutio, a friend of Romeo's, the son of, related to the, give me a sec, a kinsman of the prince. Great. Listen, man, I don't have everything memorized. I did not write a script. I should have written a script. I'm fucking improvising. My ADHD meds wore off, okay? Okay, listen. Anyways, back to the story. So Mercutio and Benvolio, take Romeo. They're all Montagues, by the way, except for Mercutio. I think I forgot to mention that Romeo's a Montague. They all go and break into the Capulet party. Great idea. Very wise of you guys. And while Romeo's there, he's like, fuck! And he sees another hot girl and he goes, oh my god! Oh! So naturally he goes up to her and then they meet eyes and they smooch or whatever and then they're like, wow. Meanwhile, Tybalt fucking sees Romeo. He hears him and he's like, the enemy of our family just broke into our fucking house. So he goes to go, you know, get his sword and get Romeo the fuck out of his house, when his uncle stops him and is like, shut up, no. And so Tybalt's like, okay. So he just decides to confront Romeo separately, on a separate occasion. Anyways, back to Romeo and Juliet. Juliet's back in her room. The party is over. Juliet's up in her balcony, and Romeo climbs up to her balcony like a fucking weirdo. I have my own problems with Romeo. It's just personal preference. He's just kind of a little weirdo. He's not evil, he's just kind of a little freak. Anyways, Romeo climbs up, and he's like, I love you, and she's like, and then he's like, but I love you, and she's like, okay, I love you too. So they fall in love, except they don't actually fall in love. In my opinion, they are never in love in the story. The obsession with each other is purely based on, a need for escapism and also just infatuation, but that's a topic for another video. I might make another video about that if you guys are interested. There is a video that I did watch a while ago that kind of talks about a similar topic. So I don't remember what the person's name is, but and I'll put it in the description if you're interested in that sort of stuff. Very good, highly recommend it. Anyways, Romeo and Juliet, they're like, oh fuck, we're enemies, but like, I love you. So they promise to like go meet each other again. Romeo goes home and he doesn't sleep all night. He just goes straight to fucking Friar Lawrence, who is the church guy. And he's like, Friar Lawrence, I fell in love. And Friar Lawrence is like, Rosalind? I thought you were already in love with her. And Romeo's just like, no, Rosalind, that's old news. I don't love Rosalind anymore. I'm all into Juliet. And Friar Lawrence is like, wow, you moved on pretty quick there, bud. You might want to take things slow. And Romeo's like, fuck you, no. And Friar Lawrence is like, wait, hang on. He sees it as an opportunity because Romeo's like, please marry me and Juliet, please marry me and Juliet. And Friar Lawrence is like, hang on. If I can get these two to marry, the son of the Montagues and the daughter of the Capulets, maybe I could stop the feud between the two families. Hey! So he's like, fine, I'll have you two marry. And then, that day, Romeo is chilling with Mercutio and the gang, when Nurse is Juliet's wet nurse. I didn't mention this before. Her and Juliet are very, very close. Nurse is practically a mother to her because Juliet's mom doesn't really care about Juliet. It's not that great. I don't like the Capulet parents. I don't really like them. Anyways, Nurse is lovely. We love her. And Nurse goes to meet up with Romeo. And Mercutio fucking makes fun of her. He treats her like shit. That's the one time I'm like, Mercutio, dog, you're one of my favorites, but don't treat Nurse that way. Anyways, she's like, fuck your friends, and he's like, yeah, my bad. So she talks with Romeo, and Romeo's like, Friar Lawrence says we can get married. And she's like, cool, I'll go tell Juliet. And she goes home to Juliet, and is like, I can't tell you, my bones hurt, give me a minute. And Juliet's like, fuck you, tell me what happened. And she's like, no, my bones hurt. I love Nurse. But she's like, yeah, you two can get married. Friar Lawrence is gonna marry you. Yippee! Everything's great and nothing will go wrong. And then they meet up and they get married. Juliet, who's like 13, girl, you should not be getting married that young. But she was already engaged to Paris. I didn't mention that. She was already engaged to Paris, like a full-grown adult. So I forgot to mention that, but she's already engaged to Paris. But she's like, fuck that, I like Romeo. Anyways, they get married, and the next day, we see Tybalt is trying to find Romeo because he wants to duel Romeo because he's like, fuck you for breaking into my fucking house. Instead, he meets Benvolio and Mercutio, and there's a little bit of silly taunting there. And then Romeo comes, and Tybalt's like, fuck you, let's fight. And then Romeo's like, no, dude, I love you. I love you so much. You're like a brother to me. And Tybalt's like, what the fuck? This dude is taunting me. This dude is making fun of me in front of my fucking face. So he's like, fuck you even more. And then Mercutio's like, no, don't fight Romeo, fight me. Fight me, Tybalt. Come on, Tybalt. In the 1968 adaptation of Romeo and Juliet, there's so much fucking sexual tension during their fight. Mercutio is so queer. Anyways, so they fight. It's just a casual fight. It's just a silly fight. But then Romeo, being over dramatic, goes and he has to step between them and be like, guys, this isn't you. Stop fighting. And then he blocks Tybalt's vision. Tybalt accidentally stabs Mercutio under Romeo's arm. Mercutio dies. And Romeo realizes that Mercutio is dead and he's like, this is Tybalt's fault. And so he goes to kill Tybalt. He kills Tybalt. So now both Mercutio and Tybalt are dead. That's great. So, like, both the Capulets and the Montagues bring the bodies of Mercutio and Tybalt to the fucking prince, and they're like, these guys are dead. And he's like, what the fuck happened? And they were like, Romeo. And he's like, well, technically he only killed Tybalt after Tybalt killed Mercutio, so I'm just gonna banish him, and that's it. And Romeo's like, banishing me? You should have killed me. He's like, banishment is worse than death. I can't see Juliet. And then Juliet's like, even though her cousin just fucking died. But she's like, my husband just got banished. My husband who just murdered my cousin just got banished. Anyways, it's interesting. She's 13. You know what? I can't be too mad at her. She's a child. So Romeo leaves, and then when Romeo leaves, Juliet's parents come and they're like, yo, do you want to marry Paris on like Thursday? Wait, what day was it again? I don't remember. Hang on. It was like 2 days. It doesn't matter. It was like 2 days. They were like, you want to marry him soon? And she's like, ah! Obviously, she doesn't want to do that. She blames it on mourning Tybalt needing more time. She goes to Friar, and Friar's like, I got a little trick for you. Drink this silly little liquid. It'll make you die. You'll look dead. You'll be cold. You won't be moving. But you'll still be alive. You'll just be very, very sleepy. So everyone will think that you're dead. And then we can go and put you in the catacombs, and then Romeo can come from banishment. I'll send him a letter. He can come from banishment, get you out, and then you guys can escape together. Great. Awesome. So she does that. She quote-unquote dies. Nurse is the one that finds her. And it's so fucking sad. And I'm so distraught. Nurse is such a tragic character. That's a whole nother video. I could make a whole video about just how fucking tragic Nurse is. But that's getting off topic. Back on topic. Sorry. My ADHD meds. Again, they're not, help. I'm not even looking at the camera. I need to look at the camera. Anyways, they do the whole thing. They have a funeral. They put her in the catacombs. And then Friar Lawrence sends his letter to Romeo. But Romeo's friend Balthazar sees that Juliet has died. And Balthazar doesn't know about the plan. So he goes to tell Romeo. He's gonna go tell Romeo. He's like, yo, Juliet's fucking dead before the letter can get to Romeo. Miscommunication. Oh no. So Romeo runs back, finds Juliet dead, he drinks some fucking poison, and then he dies. And then Juliet wakes up, and then she sees him dead, and she stabs herself, and she dies. And then the family feud ends. The feud between families ends. Yay! But everyone's dead, and Benvolio and Nurse are all alone, which is very sad. And there's actually during the credits in the 1968 film adaptation of Romeo and Juliet, you can see Nurse comforting Benvolio, and oh my god, it fucking breaks my heart. That is so fucking sad. But yeah, that's the story. You probably already knew it, and I probably didn't need to explain it, but there we go. Now I get to talk about Tybalt! I'm gonna go through all of the scenes that include Tybalt and describe why he did the things that he did, maybe his perspective on things, and then afterwards I'm gonna talk about just in general his upbringing, things that could factor into stuff, you know. First of all, the first time we see Tybalt, he is arriving to a fight between Montagues and Capulets, and he sees Benvolio as being like, guys, stop, while having his sword out. And he's like, you're gonna talk about peace with your sword out? Like, that seems a little hypocritical, which honestly, fair. Love you, Benvolio, but I see where he's coming from. The next time we see him is at the Capulet party. You know, the one that fucking Romeo broke into. He broke into his house. He broke into his house. I feel like he has a right to be angry. He sees Romeo and he's like, oh fuck, our enemy is in our fucking house. I'm gonna get him out. So he goes to get his sword, but his uncle's like, stop. And he's like, why? I don't see a point in this. He's threatening by being here and he's, you know, like disrespecting our family name. And the uncle's like, I don't want you to cause a scene. Just stop. Just leave it. Which honestly, yeah, that's fair. I can see how that is. But also, let's take another second to think. Firstly, Tybalt's been raised on violence. That's all he knows. He is grown up only thinking Montagues are the enemy. We don't like Montagues. They are not welcome in our home. So his uncle suddenly being like, that's chill. Like, that's a lot. That's a lot. Especially from an autistic perspective. This is kind of dipping into the third part of the video, but like, as an autistic person, like, being raised to do one thing your whole life and then suddenly being told that you're not supposed to do it, that kind of fucks with you a little bit. But also, like, he's probably scared for his fucking family. Juliet is 13 and the only daughter of the Capulets. The only daughter of the Capulets. Do you know how fucking scary it is? She probably doesn't go out often. She is probably protected very often because that's fucking dangerous. That is dangerous. Literally in the first scene, we see two people talking about, gonna phrase it differently because YouTube might be weird, but forcibly deflowering women from the other house. That was probably very fucking common to hear. And that was probably very common to joke about. It was very common in their culture. It's still very common in our fucking culture. Isn't it lovely? Isn't it great? Anyways, like, that's fucking scary. Can you imagine? Tybalt is probably thinking, like, the only son of the Montagues. He might have brought more Montagues with him. My little cousin is here. She is the only daughter of the Capulets. She is not safe. Do you know how big of a fucking brag it would be for fucking Montagues to be like, they either killed the daughter of the Capulets, the only daughter of the Capulets, or they, again, forcibly deflowered her. Like, it's fucking gross, but that was probably a fucking trophy at the time. So obviously he's probably fucking scared for his family, and as we see consistently throughout the story, family is very, very important to Tybalt. His family's image, making sure his family is safe, defending his family's honor. Okay, Zuko. Sorry. But like, family is very, very important. So for his family to be threatened, that's probably scary. That scene for me, especially as an autistic person and as someone who would do fucking anything for his younger brothers, that scene, yeah. Anyways, when we see him next, he is looking to fight Romeo. And instead he ends up fighting Mercutio. And, in the 1968 film adaptation, which I know isn't, like, canon, but the fight is very playful, and I think it's a really good adaptation of the fight because it was more so like playful banter. There was no bad blood between Tybalt and Mercutio. Tybalt was only after Romeo, and several times he told Mercutio, he was like, yo, I'm only here for Romeo. I don't care about you guys. I'm not interested. I'm just gonna get Romeo. And Mercutio insisted that they fight. He insisted. He knew what he was getting into. He knew that Tybalt was well known as a very good swordsman in Verona. He knew what he was getting himself into. Anyways, when he stabs Mercutio, when Tybalt stabs Mercutio, it is entirely an accident. Romeo steps in between him, he blocks his vision, and he fucking stabs Mercutio. And Mercutio literally fucking says in the story, to Romeo as he is dying, he tells Romeo as he is dying, why did you come between us? I was hurt under your arm. And he says, "A plague on both your houses, not just Tybalt, both of you." And then Tybalt is killed by Romeo. And that's the last that we see of him physically in the story, but we do hear about him more. Specifically from Nurse. And Nurse says that he is the best friend she ever had. She is not speaking one bad word about him. She is devastated when he dies. Devastated. She says, "He was the best friend I had." Hang on, let me find the quote, because it's sad as shit. Here it is. "Oh, Tybalt, Tybalt, the best friend I had. Oh, courteous Tybalt, honest gentleman, that ever I should live to see thee dead." We can see from all of the people that talk about Tybalt in the story that aren't Montagues, they speak very highly of him. They say he was a gentleman, they say he was honest, he was kind, and it's sad because he was just a kid too. He was just a kid. He was probably my age. I'm gonna be 20 soon. He was probably around my age, maybe early 20s. Tybalt was raised in violence. He was raised surrounded by violence. He was taught that violence was how he was supposed to respond when his family was being dishonored. He was taught that when Montagues disrespected him in any way, he had to respond with violence. The violence was fucking generational. He was taught to do that. He was never, Tybalt is not a villain. I'm not saying that Romeo is a villain. I'm not saying that any other character is a villain. Do I like Romeo? No, but that's just personal preferences with a character. None of these characters are villains. They are all children who were trapped in this fucking system of violence. This community that raised them purely on violence. And they were all the victims. There is no villain in Romeo and Juliet. Except for maybe Lord Capulet. Fuck you, Lord Capulet. You know what you did. I don't like him. Anyways, serious again, there is no villain of Romeo and Juliet. It's a tale about the generational effects of violence and hate, and how continuing the cycle of hate is just gonna make things worse. It just hurts people. It does no good for anyone. It just hurts future generations. There is no villain in Romeo and Juliet. Okay, great, cool, awesome. Now that that's over with, part 3 of the video. I'm gonna free my autism. I'm gonna let my autism do what it wants. Okay. Tybalt, to me, is such a relatable fucking character because he is what I could have become. I see myself so much in him. He is what I could have been if I didn't have the family and the friends that I have now. I am an angry person. I am an inherently angry person. I'm fully aware of this. I am an angry person. Thankfully, I have support systems. I have family that have raised me on kindness and support. I have friends who are there for me and help me to ground myself. They are there for me, and I have those support systems. Tybalt didn't have those support systems. He was raised in a community that was built entirely on violence and hate. If I didn't have the community that I have now, if I was raised how he was raised, I'm sure I would have turned out exactly like him. I know I would have turned out like him. Because he was a kid. He wasn't taught to regulate his anger, he was taught to use that anger to hurt other people more. I also want to talk about my autism, and also viewing Tybalt Capulet through the lens of him as an autistic person, because I very much see myself in him as an autistic person. A lot of his scenes, in my opinion, his motivations make a lot more sense if you view him as a neurodivergent or autistic character. For example, like I said earlier, the scene with him and his uncle, where he is confused and angry when his uncle says he can't do the thing that he was raised to do. He can't do the thing that he was taught that he always needed to do. That's very much me. I very much relate to that. Another instance of this is in the scene where Romeo first meets up with Tybalt right before their fight. When Romeo is saying, "I love you. I have no hate for you. I love you. You're like family to me." No, because I would be reacting the exact same way as Tybalt. I'm gonna be so serious. If you're autistic, you have probably experienced this before, where, especially in school, kids are fake nice to you. They think it's funny to be nice to you, and so people will be nice to you, and then they'll laugh about it with their friends. They think the concept of being friends with an autistic person is inherently funny, and I have witnessed that firsthand. I have experienced it firsthand, and I've gotten to the point where I am very cautious of people being automatically friendly with me because I assume they're making fun of me. I would be in the same situation as Tybalt. Tybalt, like, has been raised to hate this man. This man has been raised to hate him. He has never heard Romeo say positive things about Capulets before now. And now, all of a sudden, Romeo's like, I love you, dude. You're great. No, he's fucking taunting you. And we know he wasn't actually taunting Tybalt, but, like, that feels like a fucking taunt. And there's just a lot of other things in general of just reading him as an autistic character really makes his reactions make more sense, in my opinion. Yeah, that's pretty much the video. I really relate to him. I don't know why I connected to him. Well, I do know why I connected to him so much. It's the fucking autism. I really connected with him in high school because it was like, oh shit, that's me if I didn't have people that cared about me. Yippee! So yeah, that's pretty much the video. That's pretty much it. I don't really have much else to say. There's probably something in there. There's probably something in my brain that I'm gonna think about immediately after I post this video. Because I didn't write things down. I should have written things down, but I didn't write things down. It doesn't matter though. I'll put it in the comments if I have other thoughts. I'll put it in the comments if I have other thought. Oh my god. I will put it in the comments if I have other thoughts. There we go. Oh my god. Yeah, let me know if you want me to expand on other Romeo and Juliet topics or if you want me to talk about other topics. I don't know. I think this could be pretty fun. I've never really considered doing YouTube like frequently before, but I've wanted to make this video for a long time and it could be fun to make other videos. So I don't know. Okay, bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye.